Boris Johnson has been dealt a serious blow by the resignation of loyalist Oliver Dowden, who has the Conservative Party in his blood, a senior Tory has told Express.co.uk. Oliver Dowden awoke to the news that his Conservative Party had lost both the Wakefield and Tiverton and Honiton by-elections, and by 5:35 a.m. this morning, quit his role as Tory co-chair. Writing to Boris Johnson, he told the Prime Minister that the party deserves better after the latest in a run of very poor results. The Liberal Democrats beat the Conservatives' Helen Hereford to clinch the Tiverton and Honiton by-election in Devon, where the Tories had enjoyed a majority of more than 24,000. The seat's new MP, Richard Ford, received 22,537 votes in a result that marked the largest swing away from a governing party in the history of UK politics. Meanwhile, Labour won in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, the first seat it has taken from the Tories at a by-election for a decade. The constituency sits in the so-called Red Wall – Labour's traditional Northern and Midlands heartlands, which was captured by the Tories under Mr Johnson at the 2019 general election. While the two lost seats will force Tory MPs to re-evaluate where they are with the country, Conservative peer Lord Robert Hayward notes that Mr Dowden's resignation is equally as deafening for the party. Speaking to Express.co.uk, the Conservative peer explained how the Cabinet Minister's shock exit is a serious blow for Mr Johnson given his long-standing support for the Tory leader. He said, "It is a serious blow. Oliver has got the Tory party in his blood. His background is the Tory party. And it is significant that he says that he remains loyal to the Tory party. He, Rishi Sunak and Robert Jenrick threw their weight behind Boris' leadership campaign. So, it is a serious blow, and I think that is what the advisers, who should be talking to Boris about the by-election results, should also be saying." They will not need to be reminded that Oliver is one of the original Boris supporters, Boris loyalists. So, it is a marked blow. In the wake of Mr Dowden's resignation and the by-election maulings, Mr Johnson vowed to keep going. He said, "It's absolutely true we've had some tough by-election results. They've been, I think, a reflection of a lot of things. But we've got to recognise voters are going through a tough time at the moment." The Prime Minister cited the difficulties faced by the British public, such as spikes in food and energy prices amid the cost of living crisis. But he dismissed claims that the by-election defeats were a vote on his leadership, which has recently been damaged by the so-called Partygate scandal over social gatherings in Downing Street that broke his own COVID-19 lockdown rules. However, the losses in Wakefield, and Tiverton and Honiton come just a fortnight after Mr Johnson was bruised in a confidence vote by his own MPs. A total of 211 Conservatives backed his leadership, but 148 Tories voted to oust him in a major rebellion. Amid the dissent in the party, Mr. Dowden's exit heaps further pressure on the embattled Prime Minister, who is currently thousands of miles away in Rwanda. The cabinet minister has been a loyal supporter of Mr. Johnson over the last few years, and has been rewarded with several high-profile posts including Minister for the Cabinet Office, Paymaster General, and Culture Secretary. Lord Hayward compared his resignation to Lord Geoffrey Howe, whose shock exit in 1990 toppled Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. He said, "What I don't think is that it reaches the Geoffrey Howe proportions. Geoffrey Howe's resignation was unbelievably damaging for Mrs. Thatcher. Although Oliver Dowden's resignation is damaging, I don't think it's quite on the same level. It will depend if Oliver says anything more." One of the things about Geoffrey Howe's resignation was that he then stood up in Parliament and made a resignation speech, which was brutal. He added, "A resignation in itself is damaging, but it's also how the person behaves afterwards." I don't expect Oliver to say things. But you never know.